Hello, everyone. This is Vidette Mayer, and this is an urgent message for your help in opening the storehouse of good for our friends and family in Ukraine. As many of you know, Bud and I spent 5 months in Ukraine, the last part of 2021 and into 2022. It was a time for growth for us as we had taken a giant leap in changing our lives completely, and Ukraine was where we landed for part of that year. We arrived in Ukraine shell-shocked from the momentum of change that we had been living in, isolated from anything or anyone we knew, in a land with an alphabet and language barrier that felt insurmountable, and missing human connection, all while entering into the winter months of Ukraine. It was a challenging time for us. After months of living as an isolated couple, one day during a stroll in the town square, we randomly picked up on someone speaking English and searched them out. We both craved a conversation in our native language so badly, we actually chased down the English speakers, and when we found them, we knew instantly they were our people. They were smelling the last of the roses warmed by the late autumn sun, left on the bush before the last petals fell for winter. Bud struck up a conversation, and an unexpected and sacred relationship unfolded. What we didn't know at that time, the universe, God, Spirit, whatever is comfortable for you, delivered us a storehouse moment where the good of nature is delivered in a synchronistic moment, and that good expands and multiplies. We didn't realize the gratitude we shared in that moment would expand and multiply into something that would change Bud and me forever. Mary, our new friend, is a Ukrainian woman, my age, about 47. After 20 plus years in Canada, she came back to her roots to be with her family. A large family with 13 kids and her mother, which we call Babushka, who still cooked for all of her kids every Sunday. Mary realized the importance of family over the conventional luxuries and stresses of the Western world in Canada and stepped back in time with her daughter and Canadian husband to a simpler life in the place that mattered most to her and her family, Ukraine. Bud and I were invited into this family after our chance encounter that day. We learned their perspective of living through communism. Mary is the same age as myself, so listening to her perspective of growing up in a communist country and comparing it to life in the U.S. during that time was fascinating. We asked each other questions. We learned from each other. We learned from each other's perspectives. We sat fascinated about what each of us learned as children about our differing countries, opinions of each other. We learned that we were both greatly misled on what we were taught about the people of our individual countries. Bud and I sat and marveled at the feeling of family again as we sat in the modest home that once raised 13 children during communist Russia. We witnessed and experienced family in a way that is most meaningful, around a crowded table of food, conversation, and laughter. We were taken into their provisional storehouse, a cool stone cellar where shelves were lined with cans and jars filled with pickled vegetables, jams, and juices, all harvested from their backyard garden. Cured meats hung drying and aging from the ceiling. We asked who did it all. The answer? All of us. It felt so surreal to hear how the family has come together every year of their existence in the fall to provision their storehouse. It was like a time long lost hearing this and their experience in harvesting the riches of their garden by spending days together in the kitchen, washing, slicing, pickling, jarring, and curing provisions for the long Ukrainian winters. Mary's youngest brother slices off a bite for Bud and I. Our eyes meet. Joy expands our heart. The taste of that bite is so precious, it's personal. You can feel the love in it. Our inner storehouse moment overflows and leaks a little out of our eyes as gratitude rolls down our cheeks for this family that has invited us into such an intimate space, their home, their hearts. And there were some tears as stories were shared of hardships, passing relatives, and great feats of humanitarianism, as our adopted family's job was to run humanitarian efforts to support families in need in Ukraine. Being Christian during the communist era, their father led underground services and support systems for their village. They speak of having to jump into ditches to hide from the police on their way to worship. They were a family well known to help anyone in need. Because of that kind of value, their family was watched, followed, and bugged by the KGB. The stories we heard. Mary's brother Andrew, in particular, was a light in the room. His smile so bright. The pride he carried at holding his new daughter, almost one now. He told Bud and I the story of falling in love with his wife Marina and just knowing he'd have a large family. Andrew shared one story in particular of helping an old Ukrainian woman to see her son one last time who was dying of cancer in Russia by bringing him to her so he could die in his mama's arms. Y'all, it took him 2 days to get this man through airports, borders, etc., all while taking full responsibility for his medical care. His heart was so big for this mother to see her child again that he risked himself to do so. He arrived back in Ukraine in time for this man to die with his mom by his side and then helped to bury him. Just a day before one of our family meals, our friend Mary had returned from the Russian-Ukrainian border after moving children in an orphanage to safety in preparation for the imminent war. This is just the scope of what this family is about. They are truly a blessing to this world. As our time was blessed with this family, the outside world ramped up to wage war in Ukraine. With the war mounting, the U.S. Embassy was encouraging U.S. citizens to make arrangements to evacuate the country. With a dog and everything we owned in 6 suitcases, flying was not an option. Driving was our only way out. Andrew volunteered to drive us. On a cold day in January 2022, Bud, Andrew, his co-pilot Vladek, myself, and our dog Priya climbed into a borrowed van and road tripped 30 hours through the Baltic region to Albania. Rest assured, a 30-hour trip with anyone like this bonds you for life. We were detained at the Hungarian border for 4 hours. We were rerouted hours in the opposite direction due to landslides. We stopped and played in a blizzard, whipping through the Serbian mountains as we drove through. We stopped in the middle of a desolate road in Montenegro, each of us silent and in awe at the majesty of the mountains around us. We warmed up by a fire in a cup of weird hot chocolate that resembled warm pudding by a gorge whose running waters were such a shade of blue it stunned us all. We sat dumbfounded staring at these waters. We got pulled over by police while Andrew was fishing pickles out of a jar his babushka mama sent with us from her storehouse. After joking with the police officer, we all laughed belly laughs at the stories we had to tell from this road trip together through Europe, with family, as family. After arriving in Saranda, we had a good night's sleep and treated Andrew and Vladek to breakfast. We walked on the beach together and vowed to have their families come visit us this summer when Riviera season began. Weeks later, war erupted. Mary, Andrew, Vladek, and their families' world have been rocked. After checking in by text with them a few days ago, we received a disturbing request for help. They are working in humanitarian support of their local village and have also dispersed through the country as well. They are leading this effort themselves. They are far from wealthy, but as you have seen, they are rich with the value of the heart. No matter what your personal opinions are of this war, there is no denying that innocent people are stuck in the middle, attempting to maintain some kind of life for their families. At the same time, Andrew and the men are doing unspeakable work that most of us cannot even imagine. Y'all, they are in need of monetary support right now. They are in need of provisions. They are asking for a miracle from the storehouse of good they know exists in their faith. Bud and I would like to open that storehouse for them and raise funds to give the storehouse to them as they so gave to us. This is our opportunity to give back to the family that gave so generously to us when we needed it most, and we're asking for your help. We are unable to set up a GoFundMe campaign from Albania, our current country of residence, because of platform restrictions. I have set up a PayPal link to donate to, and 100% of all the funds will be directly sent to Mary and her husband Chad to disperse within the family as needed. This is their job. This is what they do. They are humanitarian experts. Other than the PayPal transaction fees, no other fees will be deducted by Bud or myself. All donations are welcome, and your generosity is humbly requested. Let's see how far our collective storehouse can go to support soul family in need. Rest assured, this was no chance encounter with this family, as this is no chance encounter you are receiving this message. We have been changed by this family because they gave us love, hope, connection, and laughter when we needed it most. We are now called to return the good, that good, multiplied, expanded, and spilling over. Doing so in a community gathered in loving support for humanity can move mountains. If that is the kind of unity you'd like to see in our world, let's unify our hearts and resources with the loving intention to show our support for humanity. Be the change we want to see in the world by honoring and trusting the synchronistic call to be of service to others. This is personal for us. Therefore, this is a passionate and humble request to help us, help our friends, and be the community that allows us to deliver a storehouse moment that will help to support an entire village in Mukachewa, Ukraine. Where two or more are gathered, there I am. Let's gather in delivering the storehouse of good to our friends, our soul family, and remind them that this world is truly united in love and for the good of all. If you are called to help support this private campaign, please share this video, then make your donation at the link below.